We are following a couple of breaking news stories that really move forward and advance the story we led with in the last hour. The troubled, increasingly scandal-plagued candidacy of the man Donald Trump has tapped to lead the Pentagon, former Fox News weekend morning anchor Pete Hegseth. Just in the past few minutes, we have two new headlines, two new bodies of reporting to tell you about. NBC News is now reporting that Republicans in the Senate, quote, are growing increasingly skeptical about Hegseth. Three Republican sources with direct knowledge of his nomination process telling NBC News that as many as 6 Senate Republicans, perhaps more, are currently not comfortable supporting Hegseth's bid to lead the Pentagon. And the seemingly daily new allegations are, quote, taking a toll, putting that nomination in peril. And as if on cue, we now have explosive new reporting from NBC's national security correspondent, Courtney Kube. Here's the eye-popping headline on that piece of reporting, quote, Pete Hegseth's drinking worried colleagues at Fox News. The report continues, quote, Hegseth drank in ways that concerned his colleagues at Fox News, according to 10 current and former Fox News employees, 10. Two of those people said that on more than a dozen occasions during Hegseth's time as a weekend anchor, they, quote, smelled alcohol on him before he went on the air. Quote, one of the sources said they smelled alcohol on him as recently as last month, end quote. Joining us now for this breaking news, NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles and NBC News national security correspondent Courtney Kube, both of them bylined on these reports. Ryan Nobles, I'll start with you.
Yeah, Nicole, it does seem increasingly clear that Pete Hegseth has a hill that is getting steeper by the moment when it comes to winning confirmation by the United States Senate. We are reporting that as many as 6 Republican senators do not feel that they can cast a yes vote for him in his nomination process. Remember that he can only afford to lose 3 Republicans if every Democrat votes against him and to win confirmation. And really the issue is this, what seems to be a daily dose of new reporting around Hegseth's past that points to serious accusations about mistreatment of women, serious accusations about the abuse of alcohol, serious accusations about his mismanagement of the various organizations that he was in charge of. And, you know, when we talked to Republican senators before Thanksgiving, there was some optimism that Hegseth would be able to explain at least that initial round of allegations and that the loyalty to Donald Trump would be enough to push him over the finish line. We're getting a much different sense from Republicans today. They're concerned that there could be even more revelations that come out about his past that could put them in a difficult position to vote yes on his confirmation. I should point out that a lot of the reporting that I did about the future of his nomination came before this report that Courtney just dropped about his connections and the concerns about his alcohol use while at Fox News. So I think that this is not to say that his nomination is completely over with here. He still has a path to confirmation, and many of the senators, at least publicly, are saying that they want to give him the opportunity to explain his side of the story, that they want to be able to talk to him one-on-one. They want him to be able to sit for a public confirmation hearing where he answers some of these questions. And this might be the most important part of this process, Nicole. They want him to undergo a rigorous vetting, a rigorous background check, a background check that would include an FBI background check, which we know is something that is not a guarantee right now in this Trump transition process. And it feels at the very minimum, if these 6 senators that are right now uncomfortable, perhaps more, the only way that they're going to be flipped around is if he goes through that vetting process and they feel comfortable that whatever issues that he has in his past, he's put behind him and he's able to then appropriately run one of the most important agencies in the federal government, the agency with the biggest budget, with the most employees, and of course responsible for protecting American national security. There's no doubt that at this point right now, he has not proven up to that challenge, and it's going to take quite a bit of work for him to get to that point where he can get 50 votes in the United States Senate to be confirmed. Nicole.
I mean, Courtney, your reporting blows out of the water anyone's delusion that this behavior is behind him with reporting that at least in the category of alcohol abuse, it's as recently as last month. Take us through what you're reporting.
Yeah, so we spoke with 10 current and former Fox News employees who all talked about concerns that they had because of Pete Hegseth's drinking while employed at Fox. Now, as you know, Nicole, he was the host of a popular show, Fox and Friends, a weekend morning show. And according to these former and current colleagues, they said that there would be times where he would show up only minutes before the show was about to go on the air, sometimes talking about being hungover, at times even still smelling of alcohol from the night before. And as you know, when the host or the anchor of a show is showing up at the last minute and not ready to hit the ground running for a show, it put a lot of stress on that show and on those producers and on the staff at Fox News. Now, Nicole, this was something, according to these people we spoke with, that occurred over the course of years, as far back as 2016 and as recently as even this past year. Now, of course, Pete Hegseth terminated his contract with Fox News on November 12th when Donald Trump announced that he was going to be his choice to be Secretary of Defense. I should say the Trump transition team gave us a pretty scathing comment, calling these accusations, saying that they are false, and saying that this is the selection to be Secretary of Defense is a deployment that Pete Hegseth is ready to take on. But again, we spoke with nearly a dozen people about this who all told us the same thing, that his drinking really impacted the show and it caused a lot of stress on the people on that show. Now, this is one of the character issues that leads to the reporting that you and Ryan were just talking about. It's why we are hearing that some Republican senators, who frankly, some of whom would probably be pretty quick to support a nominee from President-elect Donald Trump, are having some concerns. They're worried about the now nearly daily drip of stories and accusations about Pete Hegseth that go to his character. There are the drinking allegations from when he was at Concerned Veterans for America that we heard about from The New Yorker. There's now this from his time at Fox News. There, of course, are the allegations that have gone back several weeks that we've been hearing about his treatment of women, allegations of sexual assault from several years ago. And when you consider all of those character concerns, that's why some of these senators, according to one of the officials who I spoke with today, they are worried about it. As Ryan mentioned, the Pentagon, $800+ billion budget, roughly 3 million people under this, inside this department. And more importantly, it is a job where literally lives are at stake with the decisions that you make. You sign the deployment orders for people to go overseas into combat zones. It is a tremendous responsibility. The enormity of the job is even overwhelming to some people who have years and years, decades of experience in government and military. And all of these character accusations, combined with Pete Hegseth's lack of experience, seem to really be taking a toll on the possibility that his nomination has a path forward, Nicole.
I mean, Courtney, you've talked to 10 sources. They all come from inside the Fox News empire. Ryan, you've got 6 sources, I think, talking, or six members, 3 sources describing 6 members who have paused. I just want to press both of you a little bit on the volume of people coming out from inside Pete Hegseth's own circle. These are not Democrats who appeared as the rare Democratic counter-argument point on the weekend show. I don't know if they do that. These are not people that served with them who went on to become Democratic activists. These are not critics. This is his mother, who describes him as a serial abuser of women and then says she later wrote him an email and apologized. This is the Monterey Police Department, who released a 22-page account of sexual assault, a woman who went and took a rape test at a hospital after what he described as consensual sex. It would be the first time consensual was used to describe someone who went and took a rape test, a rape kit. This is the story of someone who inside Fox News had to, based on your reporting, Courtney, quote, be babysat. I want to read what Fox News describes as the job when you work for Pete Hegseth. Quote, as a co-host, Hegseth needed to be at work early on weekend mornings for a show that began at 6 a.m. His female co-hosts would come in around 4 to prepare and have their hair and makeup done. Male co-hosts arrived around 5 or 5:15. One current and 2 former Fox employees said they felt like they needed to, quote, babysit Hegseth due to his drinking and late nights. Quote, we'd have to call him to make sure he didn't oversleep because we knew he'd be out partying the night before, one of them said. Another said, quote, morning TV is stressful. And more times than not, Pete made it even more stressful. Hegseth sometimes arrived with only 20 minutes or less before the show began, according to 3 sources. Stressing out his colleagues, they said Hegseth's makeup would sometimes need to be done while he was on set because of his late arrival, leaving his colleagues with such a small amount of time. The sources could not say whether his lateness was caused solely by his drinking. Courtney, I want to ask you to now storytell for us on the 24/7 nature of the job of Secretary of Defense, another piece of this report.
Yeah, so I mean, it really is genuinely a 24/7 job. Okay, so think of a couple of recent events. October 7th comes to mind. That occurred about midnight Eastern time was when the attack on Israel started. Secretary Austin, including a number of other people across Washington, were woken up and went into work and worked all through the next day. The China spy balloon story. Secretary Austin, when he got the call from the then Northcom commander at 3 o'clock in the morning while he was traveling in Manila, he was up for the rest of the day. And by the way, the next day after he got that call, after he was up throughout the night, he had to go all day long meeting with the president of the Philippines, Duterte, and work for another 12-hour a day. So it's a relentless job. And the one that I keep talking about, because I think this really drives home the point of the enormity of this job, is Operation Noble Eagle. So this is the mission to defend the homeland. A lot of people probably don't know about it, but it's to defend the U.S. borders. And one of the responsibilities is for Northcom, NORAD, to defend the skies. So if an aircraft is coming in that could be potentially threatening to the Capitol, to an area where the president is, whatever it is, the phone call goes from NORAD to the Secretary of Defense. And it doesn't matter what time, day or night that is. That call comes in and you may have someone on the other line saying, Mr. Secretary, do we need to shoot down this aircraft? It's an enormous responsibility,